What up, Giants fans? Before we get into the initial Giants 53-man roster, that means we're closer and closer to week 1 against the Tennessee Titans. I'm talking real football. If you're excited to see the Giants start the season 1-0, like this video right now. You are watching New York Giants Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Marshall Green. It's cut day across the league. You got to get down to 53 players, and the Giants have done that. They've made 27 roster moves to get down to the 53-man roster. In today's show, we're going to go through every single player that was cut, and then in the second half of the video, we're going to go through every single position group and show you the updated depth chart for every single position. There were some surprising cuts, in my opinion, today. Only one undrafted free agent made this initial 53-man roster, and there's a guy that made the roster that I talked for a long time about not making it, but the trade rumors are still circulating. He's not officially in the clear. But let's start with maybe the most surprising cut, and that being Davis Webb, someone that is a preseason legend at this point for the New York Giants. 2 game-winning drives, completed 74% of his passes, 458 yards, and 3 touchdowns. I thought that he had a guaranteed roster spot. I thought him coming over from the Bills to the Giants and passing on that assistant QB coach position, I thought he was guaranteed a roster spot. But he's not going to make this roster. He's on the outside looking in of this 53-man group. I expect for the Giants to try to bring him back on the practice squad, but if he doesn't make it through waivers, and I don't know if he will, because he's a good player at this point, we'll see what happens with Davis Webb. But let's show him some love, because it's the end of the road for him now with Big Blue. Type 12, his jersey number in the comments section. It was a lot of fun watching him play in the preseason. It was surprising to see him get cut, so let's show him some love. Type 12 in the comments for our guy Davis Webb. Another somewhat surprising cut at the running back position, Jashaun Corbin, as well as Sandro Platzgummer, who's not really cut because he's a part of the International Player Pathway Program. He's going to land back on the Giants practice squad, so he's going to continue to be a Giant. And I think they'll try to do the same with Corbin. If he goes through waivers and he goes unclaimed, the Giants most likely will bring him back to the practice squad. I thought he had a good chance. 2 rushing touchdowns in the preseason, looked good, but the Giants, they're rolling with the guys they're rolling with. We'll show you them later on in the show. They also made 3 cuts at the wide receiver position. And this one kind of hurt. Alex Bachman, the preseason legend, he played great against the Cincinnati Bengals. What was it, 11 catches, 122 yards, and 2 touchdowns? I thought he had a chance, but it was an uphill battle. He is also being joined by Jaylon Moore and C.J. Board, a surprising cut, a special team specialist, a guy that a lot of people had penciled into this roster. He's just not going to be on it come opening day, week 1 against the Titans. The Giants also moved on from undrafted free agent Austin Allen, the 6'7", 6'8" tight end out of Nebraska. Had that touchdown last week against the Jets. I like some things I saw from him. The Giants, they're keeping it slim, though, in the tight end room. Right now, they only have 3 tight ends on the roster. I would expect for them to be active on the waiver wire at that position and sign someone if they find someone that they like enough for the right price. They also cut 4 players across the offensive line. Jamil Douglas, Roy Mbaeteka, he was part of the International Player Pathway Program. At the moment, does not sound like he's going to the practice squad, but if he does, we'll keep you guys updated. Garrett McGhin and Will Holden are also the part of the 4 offensive linemen that have been cut by the New York Football Giants. Jamil Douglas is a surprise cut. He was getting a lot of reps at the backup center spot, played some guard. He's not going to make this football team. That's probably the most surprising cut on the offensive line. This is why you subscribe, though, to New York Giants Now by Chat Sports, because when news comes out, when the 53-man roster is put out there, we get in the studio and get you guys a video as soon as possible. When news breaks, when rumors come out, we get you guys a video. We go live every single Wednesday, and we're also going to be doing watch parties for every single game this season. So lock us in for the 2022 NFL season. We're on the cusp of getting to 11,000 subscribers. We're like 20 away. Hit that big red button. Let's do it for Phil Simms. We talked about some surprise cuts earlier with Davis Webb, Jashaun Corbin, Jamil Douglas, Alex Bachman, but I think maybe the most surprising cut of the day was the outside linebacker Quincy Roche, who the Giants picked up last year following 53-man cuts, a 6th-round selection out of Miami, drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers, had 2.5 sacks last year, a couple of QB hurries. I thought he was a guy that the Giants found a diamond in the rough with Dave Gettleman, but it sounds like this new regime didn't really value Roche all that high. He was behind O'Shane Ximines in the rep chart that Brian Daboll spoke about. Ximines was getting more reps, was getting more preseason action than a guy like Roche, and now Roche is looking for a job and not going to be wearing the big blue this season. Pretty disappointing. I had high hopes for my guy Quincy. Good luck to him. Type 95 in the comments to show him some love. But also, Jalen Holmes, a surprise cut candidate as well, coming over from the Minnesota Vikings, bouncing around the league a little bit, not going to be playing with the Giants this year. The Giants, they also clean house at the cornerback position. Zyon Gilbert, Darren Evans, Khalil Dorsey, Harrison Hand. The Giants brought in a bunch of bodies at the cornerback position, trying to find someone to stick as that second and third outside cornerback on the opposite side of Adoree Jackson. Unfortunately, it's not going to be Gilbert, Evans, Dorsey, or Harrison Hand. The Giants also cut 2 safeties and Nate Meters and Trenton Thompson. I would say this is also surprising because right now the Giants only have 2 healthy safeties on the depth chart. And what does that tell me? The Giants are going to be active looking for safeties as well as cornerback when it comes to the waiver wire. So stay tuned, have your notifications on because the Giants will make moves on the waiver wire and I expect them to be at corner, safety, tight end, maybe another receiver spot. But I want to ask you this question. We've gone through every single player that has been cut by the New York Giants so far. Let me know, which roster move surprised you the most? You can go with Davis Webb, Jashaun Corbin, Alex Bachman, Jamil Douglas, or maybe you go with Quincy Roche. He's up there for me. He was definitely a surprise cut. Sound off in the comments for me right now. Shout out to the real ones. We are also growing like crazy here at Chat Sports and especially Giants Now by Chat Sports. And we're growing to platforms that you guys use. And Rumble is one of them. We're posting daily content over there, free and uncensored content, sports, news, politics, tech. We're just growing, and we want you guys to be a part of it. Give us a follow, rumble.com/NYGiantsTV. So with the 27 roster moves being made, I thought it would be a good idea to go through every position group on the Giants. Also, Brian Daboll just announced that there will be 10 captains for the Giants. We'll touch on them later on in the show. But the Giants QB depth chart with no Davis Webb, it's 2 guys, number 8 and number 2, Daniel Jones being quarterback number 1. With Jashaun Corbin out, the Giants, they have just 4 running backs on the roster. Saquon Barkley, Matt Breida, Gary Brightwell, and Antonio Williams. Sandro Platzgummer going to the practice squad, and it sounds like Jashaun Corbin, if he clears waivers, is going to be heading there as well. Big year for Saquon and Breida. I like this room. I like Brightwell, and I like Antonio Williams. Brightwell gives you that special teams pop. The wide receiver room, a room that we have talked about a lot on this show. Kenny Golladay, Sterling Shepard, Kadarius Toney, and Wan'Dale Robinson are your big 4, and they got 3 backups. Richie James, David Sills, and yes, Darius Slayton. I know I've talked a lot about it. Adam Schefter mentioned yesterday that Slayton was being talked about in trade talks. I wouldn't say that Slayton is in the clear, and he's definitely going to make this roster. I could still see him being cut, and I could still see him being traded. Stay tuned for that. The Giants are keeping just 3 tight ends heading into the 2022 season. Daniel Bellinger, Chris Myriak, and the guy they signed last week, Tanner Hudson. Maybe they look at the waiver wire at this spot to go add, more of a vet and a proven player in the NFL, but I'm excited to see what DB brings as a rookie. The defensive line, including the outside linebacker depth chart, looks like this. Kayvon Thibodeau, hopefully he can be ready to go week 1 coming off that MCL sprain. You got Leonard Williams, Justin Ellis, Dexter Lawrence, Azeez Ojulari, and you got O'Shane Ximines, Jahad Ward, Nick Wilson, Jabari J. Ellis, DJ Davidson, Ellerson Smith, and Tommen Fox. That's what you're looking like at the depth chart right now on the defensive line in the front 7 for the Giants. Your inside linebackers are Blake Martinez, Tay Crowder. No cuts at this position. There was a lot of talk about Carter Coughlin or Cam Brown being cut. They're both going to be on the roster. Coughlin, Brown, and the rookie Micah McFadden. And preseason hype man Austin Calitro, multiple turnovers forced in the preseason. Earns him a roster spot. At the cornerback depth chart, we got Adoree Jackson, Aaron Robinson, Darnay Holmes in the slot, and just two backups. And Rodarius Williams, who's coming off that ACL injury, and the rookie Cordell Flott, who's been nursing a groin injury. I really expect the Giants to be active in the secondary, trying to add players on the waiver wire or in a trade. As Joe Schoen said, he is open for business. The safety depth chart is much like the corner depth chart. It's bare, and there's not a lot of depth. Xavier McKinney and Julian Love are your two starting safeties, and you got Dane Belton as the lone backup who has a broken collarbone right now. So expect for them to look to pick up a couple safeties. The special teams this year, it's going to be cold-blooded. Graham Gano kicking your field goals. You got Jamie Gillen as your punter. Had some really nice punts in the preseason. And Casey Kreider as the long snapper. We just went through all 53 positions on this roster. Now that you know and have a better idea, and things will change, and probably by the time I push this video out, another roster move probably would have happened. Hopefully not. We waited till the final one. But now that you know what the roster looks like, and we're less than 10 days away from playing the Titans, rate the Giants roster like you're playing Madden. 1 to 10, 1 being the worst, 100 or 1 to 100, 1 being the worst, 100 being the best. Go Madden on me and rate the Giants roster. Right after the cuts, Brian Daboll spoke to the media, and he announced the captains for the New York Giants heading into the 2022 NFL season. On the offense, it's your QB1, Daniel Jones, your running back, Saquon Barkley, and the left tackle of the future, Andrew Thomas. On defense, you got the X-Man, Xavier McKinney, Dexter Lawrence, and Leonard Williams. Surprising that a guy like Blake Martinez is not on this list, who's been a captain before. Special teams, you got Casey Kreider, the long snapper, Graham Cold-Blooded Gano, the kicker, and Cam Brown as a special teams captain. And shout out to Julian Love for being voted as a defensive and special teams captains. Captains were determined by player votes, and Julian Love got votes split on defense and special teams, so Brian Daboll added him as a co-captain. 10 captains for the Giants. Just 8 road games. Not all of them are going to be able to go out there for the coin toss, but that's just for looks. What are your thoughts on the captains, though? Did they get it right? Did they get the right guys to put their C on the chest? Let me know what you think of all 10 captains that Brian Daboll named and were voted on by the players. I want to give a shout out to all of the real ones because this was a long video. We had a lot of stuff to talk about. We had cuts, we had depth charts, we had captains. If you made it to this stage of the video, if you made it to the closing point, that means you're a real one. Drop a real one in the comments section, and I'll be in the comments chopping it up with you guys.